Hello, traders. Because of income to you from theclosingprint.com, Sunday, the 18th of May, 2025. In this edition of your weekend video newsletter, we'll discuss the indices with major OPEX behind us. So many stocks ripped higher last week, leaving short-term oscillators overbought. With this, we are left with 17 bullish indicators, 1 neutral and 2 bearish to start the week. Add to that a downgrade in U.S. debt, which should result in a pullback on Monday. To be clear, all of the New York FANG index stocks were higher on the week, with Tesla up over 17% alone, and green across the screen. That said, stocks are overbought. All of our indicators are at highs. And with that U.S. debt downgrade, we'll be watching for Sunday night futures to see how the markets digest that news, as short-term oscillators are all overbought. S&P 500 closed at highs, just 3% below all-time highs, with RSI showing strength of trend, above average volume, MACD bullish, and stochastics embedded. NASDAQ showed similar strength, RSI rising, prices just below all-time highs, 21-day crossing up through the 200-day moving average, above average volume, MACD and stochastics rising. With that, the 10-year yield did pull back slightly from its recent highs. That'll relieve small caps from its bounds, so we should see that continue to move higher if the yields move lower. However, with the U.S. debt downgrade, we have to consider that yields could spike on Monday, so we want to keep an eye on that, as all the U.S. indices are continuing to push higher in bullish trends. OPEX out of the way, we're looking for calls and puts to fill in the weeks to come, headed towards June OPEX in the short term. Overall, the market's oscillators are all overbought and could see some consolidation this week. With expected consolidation and a debt downgrade, we're watching how junk bonds trade on Monday and Tuesday. If we can manage to get back above the flat 200-day moving average, that would be bullish for equities. We could consolidate here as the markets have been shrugging everything off from the tariff fiasco since the April 7th low. In addition, the U.S. dollar has been consolidating near the lows, looking like they might get above the 50-day this week, which contributed to the weakness that we saw in gold and silver. All three, gold, silver, and copper, are consolidating presently after a bullish trend that started back in late December. Brent and West Texas crude, along with gasoline, have been moderating down here near the lows. We had a double bottom on Brent crude and West Texas. Gasoline is rising a bit, but still pretty affordable into the summer months. Overall, bonds, currencies, and commodities closed the week bullish for equities, waiting for this debt downgrade and reaction on Monday to see how we proceed going forward. Personally, expecting a consolidation and perhaps a 3 to 5% pullback in the short term. With the 10-year yield moderating last week, we do have all 9 small cap sectors rising. If you were to look at the weekly time frames, they are all above their 10 EMA as well. So that's bullish for small caps. With the S&P 500 and ancillary sectors like biotechs all bullish, looking for these to follow through. Real estate and transports closed near the highs. Semiconductors were strong. Materials, communications, financials, industrials, tech, consumer staples, and utilities were all strong, with consumer discretionary closing at highs, and even healthcare bouncing on a double bottom to end the week. Retail is also strong, so watch for Walmart to follow through, along with some of the retailers that are reporting this week, like TJ Maxx. To finish off sectors, we can clearly see that the consumer discretionary versus consumer staples ratio has turned bullish. Momentum is shifting. You can see previous occasions where this was the case back in 2023 and again in 2024 with bullish crossovers. This is telling us that institutions have begun to reduce their exposure in defensive sectors and have been buying financials, industrials, tech, etc. over the last few weeks. There are so many stocks that moved higher last week, it's really hard to cover everything. Just suffice to say that most are overbought. With oscillators at highs, we could see some consolidation short term. That's what I'm expecting. We do have the IBD 50 list down below. All of those look pretty good. And if you're thinking about buying anything this week, make sure that stochastics and MACD are oversold and turning from the lows as price breaks out, like we saw with Sprout Farmers Market. With the stock bouncing at the 50-day moving average, volume starting to pick up, stochastics and MACD turning as suggested. If you're looking for anything bullish this week, check out stocks that are set up this way. Bollinger Bands tight and starting to expand with RSI rising, showing strength of trend is improving. Add to that stocks like Archer Aviation, which had a lot of news last week, breaking out above recent highs. Volume increasing, RSI rising, showing strength of trend with momentum clearly in the bull's court. However, stochastics is a little overbought. That just means that we could see closes in the upper half of the daily range in the short term. Many of you were buying United Health on Thursday thanks to Cayman's heads up, and many of you talking about it in the trading room. We got in early with the stock following through on Friday. We're looking for some more upside. However, we wouldn't be surprised to see some consolidation in a base form down here near the 300 level. If we do follow through, watch RSI, MACD, and stochastics. In addition, we want to see volume spike as well to indicate that institutions are continuing to accumulate. Last week on Friday, Stephanie Link mentioned she was getting in. Rob Seashan said that he was buying. We had supposedly Soros Fund was buying, but I've found articles that said that was actually in Q3. We did have 3 insiders buying, and most of the room is bullish, so we're looking for a follow-through this week. Stocks that have earnings behind them, like Robinhood, building a cup, looking for a handle, perhaps a breakout this week. With stochastics and MACD overbought, volume the previous couple of weeks showing that institutions have been buying, RSI is showing muscle. So with a lot of stocks overbought and expecting consolidation, we're a little bit reserved and won't be chasing anything this week. We'll see how Monday starts off, with most of the IBD 50 stocks rising rapidly, like Boston Scientific, 20-50-day cross 2 weeks ago, Celestica, Comfort Systems from previous weeks continue to push through to new highs. Cloudflare breaking out. CoreWeave, of course, last week some of you guys were in that one as well. Dutch Brothers breaking out to new highs. Cup and handle pattern, 20-50-day cross, looks good. Futu back on the IBD 50. Hims and Hers breaking higher. Lots of good news. Talk about healthcare services and partnering with various organizations to provide comprehensive care to its users. So watch Hims and Hers, looking for that to follow through. Insulet, Pod, following through. Life 360, another new name on the IBD 50. Landbridge, Mercado Libre trending. Most of these are at highs and could see some consolidation in the short term, so don't chase. Palantir at highs, Palomar. I know some of you are very bearish on Palantir, but the trend continues. Looking for consolidation in Palantir over the next couple of weeks. Rhythm Pharmaceuticals, Robinhood, Roblox, all of these stocks following through. Sprouts Farmers Markets, one that I just mentioned, with regard to 20 and 50-day crosses coming, volume is increasing, Bollinger Bands expanding, and RSI rising. With so many stocks moving higher, to end the week, And with a debt downgrade, we're going to start the week with a bit of caution and look for some consolidation. Okay, traders, that's going to do it for me. This is Cousin Vinny coming to you from theclosingprint.com, Sunday, the 18th of May, 2025. I'll send out a watch list later tonight around 12 midnight on the East Coast, if not sooner, 9 o'clock on the West Coast. So be sure to check your inbox for that later this evening. Take care, and we'll see you in the morning. Ciao.